Are you in the market for the new M4 iPad Pro but can't decide whether the smaller 11-inch is the right size for you? Or maybe you're thinking going bigger with the 13-inch will suit you better? Well, hopefully this video helps you decide whether you should go all in on the bigger 13-inch or if the 11-inch is good enough for you. Me personally, I love the 11-inch form factor, but you're not me, so let's talk about the differences. Now, we do have both iPad Pros right here in front of me, and I have pretty much the same type of spec here thanks to Apple. We have the 11-inch iPad Pro with 1 TB of storage, it has cellular, and the 13-inch iPad Pro is the same exact spec, 1 TB of storage with cellular. Now, since I have the 1 TB version here, it means that the M4 chip inside these iPads are the unbinned M4 chips with 10-core CPUs and GPUs, and it also comes with 16 gigs of RAM. Now, if you get anything lower than 1 TB, you're getting one less core on the CPU and get 8 gigs of RAM, but in all honesty, it's really not a huge difference day to day. I was able to test out an M4 iPad Pro with 512 gigs of storage, and I did not notice a difference whatsoever. Besides that though, we have the silver color right here for both the M4 iPad Pro because I think the silver iPad Pro mixed with that white Magic Keyboard is actually the better color than the new space black color here. It's less prone to fingerprints and overall provides a much cleaner setup here. And while we're in a topic of Magic Keyboards, one thing that I especially love on the 13-inch iPad Pro's Magic Keyboard is that we're getting a full-size keyboard here. Now, as someone who's been using the 11-inch iPad Pro, I really appreciate the bigger size trackpad and keys on the bigger iPad Pro's Magic Keyboard. Now, I haven't really used the 13-inch iPad Pro as much as I'd like to. I've actually only had this for about 2, maybe 3 weeks now. And while I'm still getting used to the size, I'll say this right now, the 13-inch iPad Pro, even with the Magic Keyboard, feels so much lighter than the outgoing M2 iPad Pro with Magic Keyboard. The overall profile just feels and looks so much more slimmer. The weight reduction is really noticeable here. And then comparing the actual iPad to the 11-inch version right here, the 13-inch is actually quite a bit slimmer, which is just insane. I can see the 13-inch being a great option if you want a big size iPad that can also double as your laptop, but we'll talk more about that later in the video. Now, talking about the actual size difference on both iPads here really quick, I think the 11-inch is pretty much the perfect size iPad for just about everyone. It's portable, very lightweight, and really easy to travel with, and doesn't really take up much room in your bag. Now, even with the Magic Keyboard installed, it's still very portable and weighs about the same or a bit less than a 13-inch MacBook Air. The 13-inch iPad Pro, on the other hand, feels very large at first, but with how slim and light the iPad is, it kind of doesn't feel like it's too big. I think it's an awesome size for entertainment and productivity, and of course, pairing it with the Magic Keyboard and Apple Pencil Pro, it just makes it feel like the ultimate iPad. Now, moving on to the actual display quality though, both are really beautiful OLED displays. Since both are using the same tandem OLED technology here, you're getting really vibrant colors, very deep blacks, and a very, very bright screen that has a peak brightness of 1600 nits when viewing HDR content. But in everyday normal usage with SDR content, we're still hitting about 600-ish nits, which is fairly bright while still maintaining, vibrant colors and very deep blacks. Now, I can't say how tandem OLED will perform in the long run when it comes to burn-ins, but I'm assuming it'll be okay. But in case it doesn't, I definitely recommend getting an Apple Care for these devices, especially, for devices that cost as much as these two. Now, moving on to the speakers, I think both iPad Pro sounds very good. And even though both are in very thin chassis, the 13-inch iPad Pro is able to output a little bit more power despite it being slimmer than the 11-inch Pro. Maybe because there's more surface area on the 13-inch Pro. Sounds are able to balance and travel more, I don't know. But from my testing and what my ears can hear, the 13-inch sounds a little bit more powerful, producing better and fuller sounds.
I just wanna feel like this.
And then when it comes to performance and battery, they score roughly about the same in Geekbench 6. So the 13-inch iPad Pro scored 3,674 for single core and 13,298 for multi-core. And then the 11-inch got a single core score of 3,688 and 13,321 for its multi-core score. Like I said, very similar, and as far as metal and GPU, both got roughly around 53,100, which blows any previous M series chips out of the water. And then when it comes to gaming, this pretty much comes down to what size you prefer more. Now, obviously, the bigger display, the better it is for gaming and for legibility. So if you ask me to pick which of these two iPads I prefer to game on, it's obviously going to be the 13-inch iPad Pro. Now, typically, I'll pair a Bluetooth controller on these iPads or hardwire PS5 controller, and I'll play Warzone Mobile or Zenless Zone Zero here. But yeah, gaming performance is just straight up awesome on these iPads, and I seriously can't wait for more AAA titles come to the App Store and push these chips to its limit. Because right now, as far as gaming goes, I feel like we're barely touching the surface here, and developers can definitely push more graphics and frames out of these iPad Pros. And then when it comes to battery life, I really thought the 13-inch would give me better battery life here just because, it's a bigger iPad, it's packing, a bigger battery. But over the past few weeks that I've been using these two iPads, I'm genuinely surprised that both are kind of identical in terms of standby and screen usage. Now, these iPad Pros are almost always connected to their Magic keyboards, and I'm getting about 8 to 9 hours of actual usage before it gets down to like 5%. And that's with a mixture of photo editing, gaming, browsing the web, doing some admin work like, replying to emails and posting on social. So whether you go with the smaller iPad Pro or the bigger iPad Pro, you're gonna get similar battery life out of these two. But then again, it also depends on what you do on your iPad, so experience may be a little bit different than mine. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I might as well go get the 11-inch iPad Pro if the overall experience is the same. I'll save some money, can spend it on accessories or warranty, and what I'll say to that is don't count out the 13-inch iPad Pro just yet. I think the 13-inch display is awesome if you're an illustrator or you love editing photos on a bigger display. Things are just more legible here. If you enjoy watching movies on a bigger screen or you're traveling with just the iPad, the much slimmer profile and the lighter body is a night and day difference between this 13-inch iPad Pro and any previous 12.9-inch iPad Pros. So if you want that big iPad experience and you want the most powerful hardware, the 13-inch iPad Pro is pretty much the perfect choice here. Now, as far as which one I'll go with personally, my pick will still be, of course, the 11-inch iPad Pro. I'll take the loss in display size, speaker quality, slightly slimmer profile in exchange for a more portable, lighter machine overall. As much as I enjoy and appreciate the bigger display on the 13-inch iPad Pro, I just travel way too much to whip out a big size iPad on an airplane. Now, if you don't really travel or commute all that much or care that you have to lug around a bigger iPad Pro, then by all means, please pick up the 13-inch iPad Pro. It's an awesome iPad that can be your all-in-one laptop replacement for both mobile and stationary setup. But if you travel a lot like me and you care more about portability and you need a more lightweight setup, go for the 11-inch iPad Pro. You won't be disappointed.